Super Rugby power rankings for round number 6. It was a bit of a funny week. It was week number 6. A few upsets and a few expected ones, I guess. But yeah, it's been reflected in the rankings. There are a few surprises here for even me. I was pretty curious to see how they would turn out, but the numbers are in, and we will start from the bottom. It was a familiar place for them last season, and it is a return to form. Unfortunately, familiar form for the Sunwolves. They are back to the bottom of my power rankings. It's been a while, to be fair, to the Sunwolves since they've been at the bottom. It seemed like the form at least had improved a bit. Some close losses, a good win over in New Zealand, but another couple of losses in a row. It's a home loss in Singapore, even if it's their home away from home. It's not a good look when you're losing at home, even if it's not their preferred place to be playing. But yeah, 15th for the Sunwolves, down 1. Up 1, the Chiefs. Hooray! The Chiefs finally got a win, and when they got the win, they sure did it in style. They did it against a team which, on my power rankings from last week, were a lot higher. So, yeah, they were bound to find their form at some point, and they finally did it. So, kudos to the Chiefs. They're way behind the 8 ball in terms of the season, but if they keep playing like that, it won't be that long until they make some of the teams towards the top kind of sweat a bit. But still early days for them now that their season finally gets underway, 6 rounds in. The Jaguares, they don't move. They had the bye in round 6, so nothing doing for them. Their record is still negative. They're back home in this coming round, so we'll see if they can break even in terms of their win-loss ratio. 12th is the Highlanders. 2 New Zealand teams in the bottom row. I wouldn't have thought that, especially those 2 teams. I might have predicted one of them to be the Blues, but it's the Highlanders who lost to the Blues. I was at that game. It had been a long time between drinks before the Blues finally managed to win over a New Zealand team. They got the result here. Not good for the Highlanders. So their record is also down in the negative now. Obviously, they had that one game called off, so that doesn't hurt their record given that the power rankings were doing the calculation, kind of putting more weight on the more recent results. So their more recent results are a loss and technically a draw, so that kind of doesn't do them any favours. In 11th, the Brumbies. The Brumbies can't decide if they are good or if they are bad. They're down 4 spots on my rankings. Their record has also slipped into the negative. They've had a couple of good wins, but now 4 losses. So it's not looking that great for the guys from Canberra. They're another one that's gonna slip behind if they don't start getting some results. But I guess that Aussie conference has been one where no one team is yet running away with things, so there is still room for them to catch up. But they're in a similar position to some of these other teams that, you know, we're already 6 rounds in. They're going to need to start making a move pretty soon. 10th are the Blues. My Blues out of the bottom row. I mean, they weren't in the bottom row last week, but they're up another spot. It's another win. Credit to the guys for finally getting that New Zealand win. It has been a long time coming, like I said. I don't know if that's going to be the start of something new, or if that was a bit of a fluke. They did seem to play pretty well. The goal kicking is an issue for sure, but hey, I'm not going to take anything away from them, man. They finally got a win, and I'm one happy chappy in that regard. Another team that got a couple of impressive wins of late, the Reds are on a bit of a winning run. That's 1 win over the Sunwolves away, a game where they were predicted to lose, and now it's a win over the Brumbies at home. Impressive win. Another one they were predicted to lose. So the Reds, young squad, finally perhaps getting some wins that breed some confidence for these young guys. Like the average squad age, I think they said for the last game, was 22 years old. So, you know, it's not hard for guys that age to kind of lose a bit of confidence if they are losing games. But 2 on the bounce, some pretty big hits in. And, yeah, on the counter, they actually look pretty good. So it's not just their forwards doing the work this season. Perhaps they can make something interesting. Again, kind of like the Blues, time will tell. But, hey, it's a good start. Down another spot. The Rebels, they're down 2 actually. They were perfect up until their tour of South Africa, and then they lost 2 on the bounce, blew a big lead against the Lions, and yeah, fairly comfortably beaten by the Sharks. So they haven't quite found that winning formula for teams outside of their conference. Sure, they beat the Highlanders as well, but that was in Australia. So on the road, still plenty to work on there. They're not quite the real deal, but they've got Guinea. They got Cooper. Guinea didn't play this last game, but if those forwards front up, maybe. Still positive record. 3 wins, 2 losses is nothing to be complaining about compared to the recent history of the Rebels. So if they can push for a playoff spot, I think they'll be pretty happy come the end of the season. Still a lot of games to play. Sharks are up 3 spots. It had been looking a bit doom and gloom for the Sharks. Great start to the season, couple of good wins, then a couple of really poor losses. But they finally managed to get a win over a team who weren't the 15th or 14th team from last season. So they beat the Rebels, who were, kind of middling team, similar record to them last year. So give them a bit of credit there. They still really need to beat a big gun before we can probably say they're a contender, but they are not that far away based on that game. Are they going to show up in the next game? Jekyll and Hyde thus far, so I guess we will see. Disappointing from these guys who are down 4 spots. That's a big drop for the Bulls. The Bulls had been really good, and at home against a winless Chiefs team who had just travelled, should be jet lagged. Bulls at altitude should have been doing a lot better than they did, and they really suffered in that game. So yeah, not a good result for the Bulls. They're going to have to pick themselves up, because that was a morale busting game. And I know a lot of Bulls fans have been kind of starting to believe these guys are the real deal. Do you still think so after that Chiefs game? My confidence is wavering a bit, but they've still got, Schalk Brits, they've still got Dwayne Vermeulen, although did he pick up an injury? Pollard, they've still got the guys. Speckman has been in good form, so not a lost cause by any means. Far better than last year, but that was a pretty gutting loss for them. Next, into 5th, the Waratahs up 4 spots. Waratahs are another one of these teams. There's so many teams with 3 wins and 2 losses. There's 5 teams with that record. So they're all kind of amongst it. Waratahs, unexpected win over the Crusaders. Very out of sorts Crusaders, kind of to be expected with the events that have gone on in Christchurch. So, that wasn't a great game to watch. There were a lot of errors, but you can't take anything away from the Waratahs for going in there and getting a win. Folau seems to be in good form, so I guess Wallabies fans will be hoping that continues throughout the season. Daryl Gibson, perhaps a bit of inside knowledge on his old Crusaders buddies as well. Either way, they got a win, and all power to them. The Aussies need a team which is going to really push ahead in that conference, so maybe the Waratahs are going to be it now that the Rebels are slipping away a bit. Next, the Stormers. They stick in 4th. They did lose their most recent game to the Hurricanes. You can't really critique them too much, because they were so much better than they have been all of last season in terms of their travelling form. Last year on their tour of Australia and New Zealand, they were atrocious. This game they were competitive. They could have got a win. They didn't lose by a lot. They got a losing bonus point. So yeah, improved. Not too much detracting from them in that loss. If there's ever going to be a loss that you can be kind of proud of, I suppose it's that one. So still got a bit of touring to go, so we'll see how the next 3 weeks go for them, but it was a good start if nothing else. Next one is a pretty tough one, and it was a surprise to me. It's the Crusaders, down from number 1. Now it looked like they were just going to go the whole season at number 1. But yeah, things have kind of shifted. As I said, power rankings based on more recent results. They've lost their last game to the Waratahs. They lost by more than kind of 7 points, so didn't even get a losing bonus point. The game before, through no fault of their own, was classified as a draw. So from their last 2 results, they are winless, which is harsh. But when I'm calculating this, it's all maths, and the maths doesn't have any emotions. So, yep, they are down 2 spots. Do I think that they would win against the 2 teams above them? I still do. But yeah, that's just kind of the harsh reality at the moment. Hoping those guys get whatever support they need as well. I mean, all of us in New Zealand are still feeling that. So, yeah, hoping they can kind of bounce back. Even though I'm a Blues fan, if you're going to beat the Crusaders, you want it to be kind of as clean as possible in terms of knowing that you just managed to outskill them on the day. So hopefully the Crusaders kind of find their form. No doubt they will. They've got a good coach. They've got a very good team. So, yes. Next, and up 3 spots. This is probably the best the Lions have looked for a wee while. They're still not convincing. I'm still not sure about them. It was a decent enough win away from home, so a bit of travel factor for them. You weren't sure how they were going to go, but they managed to go in and get a job done over the Sunwolves, who, like I said, have been improved this year. It was away for the Lions, so you've got to give them credit. Their record is now 4 wins and 2 losses, which is, there's only 3 teams with 4 wins, and they are one of those elite 3, so that's why those 3 teams are kind of at the top of the board. How the Lions go for the remainder, a lot of these teams have been good one week, bad the next, so the Lions are not excluded from that club. And finally, the Hurricanes bumping up to number 1. And still, I don't think they've hit their full straps. Like, they've shown bits where they look good, like Lamapi's had a couple of good weeks. Hussein's been in pretty good form, so their forward pack is still... you got to wonder if they were playing in a fully wet game against the Crusaders, they're probably going to struggle again. But hey, man, they're 4 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss, and that 1 loss was away to the Crusaders, where pretty much everybody loses. So there's not that much bad you can say about the Hurricanes. I suppose you could say they didn't punish the Chiefs when they were in Hamilton. But you can kind of look at that 2 sides, that you didn't lose away from home in New Zealand. Maybe that's a good thing. Or you could say you didn't punish the Chiefs when they were kind of, there to be beaten. But either way, it's still a pretty good record for the Hurricanes team. So yeah, it is a funny set of rankings this week. The results were kind of all over the place, but it's good for the comp that that we're getting some unexpected results. It's not just certain teams running away with their conferences, so it's still all to play for. You guys let me know your thoughts on the rankings. How would you rate the teams? Which teams do you think are genuine contenders? Which ones do you think are kind of pretenders? But yeah, it should be interesting going forward. You guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.